midshipmen are off to their best start since 2017. No one has been able to slow them down, averaging 46 points per game. Their most through 4 games of a season since 1918. The leader of the fleet, Blake Horvath, 7 passing touchdowns and 8 rushing touchdowns in the first 4 games. He's the first player with at least 7 and 7 through his team's first 4 games since Lamar Jackson in 2016. According to Sportsline, Navy currently has the 2nd highest chance to reach the college football playoff at 13.8%. Navy has started 5-0 or better 16 times in program history. For that to happen again, they have to beat Air Force in the first Commander-in-Chief game of the season. Navy looking to stay undefeated and ultimately navigate their way into the college football playoff.
Oh, that'll get you fired up. And the college football season ramps up ahead of an action-packed week 6 of the season. With that, there are a lot of scenarios, specifically in this American Conference, that could shake up the college football playoff race. For more on that, let's go ahead and welcome in our sports line analyst Mackenzie Brooks, who sits alongside me. I'm Jordan Giorgio, joining us from afar, from the comfort of his own home. Clearly missed the green memo. It's St. Patty's Day in October. Our own Chip Patterson. I don't know what you're doing over there, Chip. All right, let's start, you guys, with the #1 scenario. There's a lot of what ifs right now in college football, but the #1 scenario surrounds this interesting conversation right now in the AAC. Navy and Army, both 4-0 for the very first time since 1945. What a time in college football. But what happens if Navy, Mackenzie, finishes with 1 loss on the season and wins the American?
I hate to sound like the villain here after that beautiful American patriotic video, but their playoff hopes are virtually 0 if they lose any games here. And even if they win any games, you still need exterior things to happen. You need Boise State to lose another game. You need UNLV to lose a game. You need JMU to not go undefeated before we even put Navy in this conversation. Their strength of schedule just does not match up to some of these other conferences, and some other of these non-Power 5 conferences. Once they win their conference championship, it just ends up having a better merit here. So you're looking at their schedule. They have Tulane and Notre Dame. Notre Dame coming up in 2 weeks, noticeably. Only a 20% chance to win that game, 51% chance to beat Tulane. I mean, you see a lot of 70s, 80s, high 60s, but just, I mean, the simple math of multiplying 0.7 by 0.8 by 0.2, like, no matter how favored you are, it is just objectively hard to win out your schedule, let alone also win your conference title on top of that.
To be encouraged by Navy's start and think about what Navy could do this season. And anything, to me, involving the college football playoff, yes, it needs to include a conference championship, but you got to beat Notre Dame. I mean, it's that simple. Notre Dame and Tulane, because those are going to be games that are going to get the attention of the selection committee, but really Notre Dame. And so you think about, all right, so how does Navy beat Notre Dame? And I'll tell you how. Because what they've been able to do with the offense this season has been remarkable. You know, they've taken a page from where Jeff Monken and Army were starting at the beginning of last year. And now all of a sudden they built in the aerial pass attack, and it's really caught a lot of defenses off guard. Now, do I think defenses are going to catch up to that over the course of the season? Yeah. But for right now, what we've got with Blake Horvath, 7 touchdowns to 1 interception, I mean, those are better passing numbers than we're getting from some power conference quarterbacks. So what Navy has done in terms of really modernizing, even if it's just a little, but modernizing that offense to gain an advantage, I think it's been a great credit to that coaching staff.
Got to beat Notre Dame, that's for sure. Got to win out to your point, Mackenzie, but also Air Force, they play this weekend. That game, you guys, on CBS, kickoff slated for noon. Navy is a 9.5-point favorite on the road in that one. Okay, let's move on here. What if number 23 SMU defeats Louisville this weekend? Stangs, as we know, coming off that win to FSU at home.
It's pretty big for them. I mean, this is keeping them alive, because if they don't win this game, I really think they're out. What happens if they win is they essentially inherit the odds of Louisville to make the playoff, because Louisville plummets to under 10%. So who is to have those odds now? It's SMU. And I think they should win this game. We have been high on them, higher than the odds makers. So for us, we're certainly jumping pretty high, going from plus 700 to plus 400 if they win. So I would certainly get on that now if you like it. They really start to go into that Notre Dame-esque odds area, percent chance of getting into the playoffs if they can take this game. So really big implications here.
Yeah, Florida State, I'm sorry, Jordan, that's not a great marker for where you are as a playoff team. Like that, like I need to see SMU be able to win this game to even think that they're going to be able to navigate the rest of their schedule, because the ACC is not the Big Ten. You know, it's not one of the top conferences in college football, but the ACC is a step up in competition from the American Athletic Conference. And you've got real bodies that are going to they're going to have to face in a way that they haven't before. So this is what I'm paying attention to with SMU. Is that SMU will be the betting favorite in some games later in the year, because they are, like, in the model going to be a worthy favorite, but they are going to suffer the wear and tear of the grind that they never had to face, because there's no Charlotte on that schedule. There's no Rice on that schedule. You know, even when they're having to go and play against a Boston College, that's a Boston College team that can cause real problems for any power conference team. The sustainability of SMU's success absolutely on the table at Louisville, but it's something I'll be watching even deeper into the season.
Yeah, most definitely. Stakes are high as SMU looks to upset number 22 Louisville, just to correct and clarify there. Okay, moving on. What if Missouri defeats Texas A&M at Kyle Field this upcoming week? So far, simulations are in favor over the Aggies, in favor of the Tigers here. What if they pull it off?
This would be huge for them. They go from, you know, under 50% chance in the odds makers' eyes to over 50% chance. If you look at the way they view this team, they'd probably go to minus 115. So if you do like Missouri in this game, which I personally do, a little money line sprinkle I gave out with Chip on the Cover 3 podcast earlier today, you want to get that ticket in now while it is still plus money. Now, we like to reverse engineer what the odds makers are doing. And again, this is their first whack at a 12-team playoff too. So you can find some holes in their theories and their models as well. It seems like they are assuming any SEC 3-loss team could make it into the playoffs. I'm not quite sure voters with a specific strength of schedule will feel that way. So if Texas A&M comes out with 3 losses and one of those are to a less qualified Notre Dame here, I'm not just automatically assuming they are making it. So if they lose this game to us, they're really out of this picture, because I don't think they'll have the great quality 3 losses that other people will be implying. But moral of the story being, Missouri, this is huge for them. If they can get over that 50% hunch, get your playoff tickets now for the Tigers.
You're darn right it was Kansas money line sprinkle. All right. So I agree, you know, like I'm right there with you. I mean, this is a Missouri team that we have not seen their fastball yet. And this is a great opportunity, getting away from home. I call it the cold shower that the Tigers needed to really wake up. Get out of here with the sleepy starts, because you've got the 12th man out there making noise. And for Missouri, that has been their DNA. Last year, 4-0 against the spread away from home, including being competitive at Georgia and winning at Kentucky as a short dog. Last 8 times Missouri has been on the road under Eli Drinkwitz, 7-1 against the spread. Not only am I curious to see, you know, where Missouri goes in terms of the playoff odds, but this is a time where we get to see something close to Missouri's ceiling, or at least exceeding the odds maker's ceiling, and that's going to be so important for the real games of consequence. The Tigers' chances to win the SEC are very much set on being able to go and win very few games that are difficult on the schedule, as well as taking care of business otherwise. I think this is the spot where we begin to see whatever you thought was going to be the best version of Missouri, they're going to need it in College Station.
All right, it all begins Saturday at noon in that one. All right, lastly here, what if Washington wins in a college football playoff rematch this weekend against Michigan? It's a game, you guys, where both teams really are not the same as they were a year ago. What happens in this scenario, Mackenzie?
So for Washington, or for Michigan, they do need to win this game. I mean, their playoff chances are pretty tough if they don't win this game. Now, what's interesting on this specifically is odds makers didn't really reward Michigan for beating USC. I really thought we'd see their odds shift massively from that win, but they really didn't. And for example, we have them at a 21% chance in the model to make the playoffs. The odds makers only implying lying around an 11% chance. Nonetheless, I do believe it will be a 10% increase, whether it's in our model or in the odds makers. So the odds makers would probably go from plus 750 to plus 400. We would probably set it a little bit shorter, but nonetheless, this is a great time to get some value on them because we have Michigan going into this game and winning as a road dog. And winning as an underdog in a conference road game should be enough for the odds makers to have a little respect for this team here and give them a better shot to make the college football playoff.
If Washington wins this game, they might be a bowl team. And I'm not sure, as it stands right now, that Washington is going to be a bowl team. I mean, this is a Husky squad that got an absolutely brutal schedule. I mean, consider that you were all the way across the country going up against Rutgers. You miss a whole bunch of field goals. You shoot yourself in the foot. You step on the rakes. Tons of penalties left and right. Then you got to go back across the country. And now your offensive line, which is entirely rebuilt from the group a year ago, has to go deal with Kenneth Grant and Mason Graham, Josiah Stewart off the edge, the physicality that Michigan plays with in the trenches. This is a do or die moment, not for like Big Ten scenarios. Washington needs this game to be able to have some good math for the bowl outlook because they are 3-2. They have lost to Rutgers. They have lost to Washington State. They've got a game later in the season against UCLA, but I'm not sure if they're a favorite in another game after this. So it is right here for Jed Fish, the first-year coach, came over late in the cycle to replace Kalen DeBoer. If he wants this team in the postseason, this is a gotta-have-it game.
All right, so do or die for Washington, to clarify here, Chip. How bad of a loss would it be for Michigan?
Oh, get him out the paint. Yeah, no, this would be it. Like that, it would reflect poorly on USC. But it would be, eliminate them from the at-large math because you already were not necessarily looking at Michigan as a team that was going to be winning the Big Ten. They right now have a very, very high floor and they have a limited ceiling. And that's what happens when you are one-dimensional offensively. So if they can't win this game, then I would get them out of the Big Ten title race and therefore put them in the at-large conversation for the rest of the season.
All right, Chip Patterson, Mackenzie Brooks joining us as we continue to stir the pot of the what-if scenarios going on in college football. Get more from Chip and an appearance from Mackenzie every Thursday. Is this a thing now?
Every Thursday. Count me in.
Okay, I love it. Cover 3 podcast. They got you covered with all of the pregame matchups. You got constant analysis and more. Download and subscribe wherever you get your podcasts. You can scan that QR code on your screen.